Hi, I'm Jerry Dorost, Portfolio Manager with Cohen & Steers, and I want to provide you with an update around our thoughts on LIBOR and the potential for it to sunset at the end of 2021. I'll focus on three main topics today. First, what is the change? Second, what does this change mean for preferred securities? And finally, I'll conclude with our outlook. So to start, what is the change? We expect LIBOR to be phased out at the end of 2021. Though the COVID pandemic might push out that timing a bit. Markets have been slowly transitioning to an alternative benchmark, but there are many uncertainties that still remain, as a clear path forward on the transition has not yet been reached among many stakeholders. The Fed has endorsed the Secured Overnight Financing Rate, known as SOFR, as the likely successor for LIBOR. SOFR does improve upon many shortcomings of LIBOR, and that's because it is underpinned by a very deep and robust market. That's the Treasury repurchase market. But I'd highlight that that market is a secured market, and those secured rates don't offer a spread that is as dynamic and credit sensitive to the unsecured cost of bank credit like LIBOR does. So next, what does this mean for preferred securities? The transition does have a very important bearing on preferred securities because about 2/3 of the preferred securities market does have LIBOR-based payment resets in them. So I'd also highlight that there is contingency or fallback language that could take effect in the event that LIBOR ceases to exist. But that contingency language does vary across issues. And some of that language is better than others, and that inferior language could put investors at a disadvantage. There have been some recent new preferred issuances that have completely moved away from LIBOR. There have been SOFR-based issuance, and recently there's also been Treasury-based resets. And those Treasury-based resets are, in our opinion, in some ways a notable improvement over LIBOR and SOFR because the Treasury curve is normally upward sloping. So you're resetting off of a higher point on the curve, and the recent transactions do have very wide spreads that would reset off of that high point on the curve. But just like SOFR, Treasuries are not credit sensitive and dynamic the way that LIBOR is. We are looking at some older transactions that were issued before 2017. Those older transactions do have inferior fallback or contingency language. We do think about how issuers might exchange those transactions into newer deals with more up-to-date documentation. We're also thinking about how a sweeping statutory change could be unveiled and how that could actually supersede company-specific documentation. So as active managers, we're looking at these risks and going through the prospectuses to identify the securities that we think are better positioned through this transition. So lastly, to conclude on our outlook, we do think that there are some risks remaining in this transition, but we do want to highlight there has been very good progress made. Investors must think about those risks and price the complexities along with that transition. We are expecting a relatively smooth transition, but should market misunderstandings occur, we will look to take advantage of those types of opportunities. And to conclude, for a detailed and very complete discussion of this transition, I would encourage you to look at the white paper that we recently published. It's titled Preferred Securities in a Post-LIBOR World, and it can be found on the Cohen & Steers website. So thank you very much for your time and your interest today, and I look forward to updating you again in the future.